Welcome back, everybody, to the Darts with Jack YouTube channel. We are today predicting the World Darts Championship 2026, obviously the hottest event on the darts calendar. And I am here with Kurt Matador Darts today. So, how are you today, Kurt?
I'm good, thank you, Jack. How are you?
Yeah, I'm good, thank you. I think let's head straight into it. Obviously, some of the ties here, as we discussed just before we hit record, are slightly less contestable than others. The first one, Littler versus Labanauskas.
Yeah, Littler. As much as I love Darius Labanauskas because he hit a nine darter when I was at the Worlds a couple of years ago, I have to go with Littler.
Absolutely no debate on that one. Van der Bergade versus David Davies. This is a slightly harder one, I'd suggest.
Yeah, Davies has been playing really well this
Hmm.
year, obviously off the tour. I'm tempted to say him just because the form he's in.
Yeah,
Um, I think Van der Bohada, obviously playing on the PDC tour, hasn't got as many wins in terms of just gaining results compared to Davies. So I'd probably
yeah,
go with him actually.
I agree with that one. Cullen, obviously my personal favourite, but someone who's been in an absolute lack of form this year, versus Bradley Brooks. As much as I think this depends on the Joe that we see. If we see the Cullen who is on his A game, he beats Brooks. I don't think without a doubt. But in his current form, which way do you suggest this one swings?
Yeah, I agree with you. I think Cullen's current form probably suggests, and Brooks's current form actually as well. Obviously, won a Pro Tour this year.
Mm,
Probably suggests Brooks, but also I think Cullen has that thing where, like, when he plays on stage, which obviously he hasn't had the chance to do as much this year. I think there's just something about him. He's much more of a stage player. Obviously, last year beat Wessel Nyman, and
yeah,
he was, he had that interview where he said that basically everyone was putting him down because of his form and stuff.
yeah.
Um, so this is probably one of the tougher ones to pick in the first round. But I would probably say I'm actually going to go with Cullen. I think I just think he's going to
Okay.
have something during the Worlds against Brooks.
Yeah, I agree. I think if we see his stage form come out, I think he wins that one. Sulic versus Cameron.
Another tough one. I think I haven't really seen much of Cameron this year. Um, Obviously he done quite well a couple of years ago when he was playing in the seniors and stuff. But
Yeah,
I think Mensa's had a bit of form going into the back end of the year. I just think that sort of extra experience he's got probably suits
yeah.
him a bit stiff for this one.
Agreed. Heta versus Lennon. I'd argue this is quite a simple one.
Yeah, I'd go with Heta.
Van Barneveld versus Belmont. I think this is interesting because we see Belmont at the Grand Slam be extremely up and down. Barneveld's also been a bit like that this year. What do you think about this tie?
Yeah, I agree. I think Belmont's got something about his game where he can play really well. Just his consistency is a bit off. I think Barney will probably have the crowd on his side. I can't remember exactly what the sessions look like, but normally you get like a big Dutch contingent when Barney plays. I think that'll probably play into his hands, and obviously Barney's just popular with a lot of
Yeah.
casual sort of darts fans, so I think it will probably go his way.
Again, I'd argue a pretty easy one. I'd happily go with Cross here.
Yeah, I agree. Yeah.
Next one, I think this one is quite tight to call actually as well. Ian White versus Mervyn King, obviously both kind of stalwarts of the PDC Pro Tour. Obviously Mervyn King not playing on the tour this year, has had a bit of form though when playing in Modus. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I said this. I mean, a couple of people said like this game at the World sort of takes you back by almost like 10 years because it seems sort of game you'd see in like the mid 2010s. Um, yeah, not really seeing a lot of Ian White this year.
No.
I know he's been playing better than he has been on the floor, but obviously he's not really had. I don't think he's played any games on stage this year, apart from the UK Open and Player Championships. I think. Merv, I think, has been playing really well actually off the tour, especially
Yeah.
on the modus. He's been. I don't want to say why I think he's been playing a lot on the modus, but I think some people can guess. But I think that's actually really helped his game. He played really well on the Challenge Tour as well. Um, yeah, I think I'm going to go with Mervyn King. I think.
The next one, extremely easy, I'd argue to predict. I'm happy to go with Dobie for this one.
Yeah, I think Dobie's probably going to win that in straight sets.
This one, I would lean towards Crabtree.
Um, Sorry, my microphone's just changed. Um, yeah, well, I think Cam's played really well um, in the Grand Slam and
Yeah.
sort of seems to have gained a lot of confidence from that. Gilding's not really had too much form this year, but he's
No.
one of those where he can. I don't know. Some people play well against Gilding, even though he's relatively slow. I
Hmm.
think Cam on the World Championship stage will he deal with that well? I'm not sure. But I'd probably go with Gilding. I think.
Okay. I will.
Yeah.
I'll take your advice. Woodhouse versus Kruchmar. I think with Woodhouse's form, obviously he's known for not getting close to many titles, but always seems to be quite consistent in terms of the way he plays. I'd lean towards Woodhouse on this one.
I think the same. Kirchmar obviously qualified for Lakeside, didn't he? And then went and played Super Darts, which is
Yeah.
happening as we speak. And he actually lost in the first round, I think. So who knows what form he's in going into the Worlds? But yeah, I think Woodhouse.
Lukeman versus Hop. Obviously, Hop's had a bit more of a resurgence this year. Lukeman's not had his best season. I still think I'd lean towards Lukeman, but what do you think?
Yeah, again, it's one of those in Germany and the Netherlands are those countries where like, if they get a lot of fans at the Worlds, they can have a big influence on the game. But I think yeah, Lukeman just in terms of form and like out and out who is the better player. I think he is
Yeah.
better, and I think he does suit big stage games as well better than Hop. So I'd go with him.
Price versus Gavlas. Pretty confident to go with Price here.
Yeah, Price definitely. I think Gablas will be playing pretty slow. I mean, he does play slow anyway. It might try and wind Price up, but I think that'll just make him play better.
Venig versus Placia. Obviously, we saw Venig in some big stage tournaments this year. Placia had a great year on the Pro Tour. Was it last year? I don't think it was this year on the Pro Tour. We know Placia can put out the big averages. You talk about Germany and the Netherlands. Obviously, you've got two players in those countries there. What do you think about this one?
Yeah, I think I'd go with Vaynik. I think, like I said, Placey had a really good year on the Pro Tour. I think it was last year, but I don't think he had a tour card last year.
No, I
Um,
agree.
I think I'm not 100% sure, but I know he was playing really well when he didn't have a card. And this year he's just sort of not really been quite at it. So I'd probably go with Vaynik just based on how Placey's been playing and also how Vaynik played at the Grand Slam.
Um, Joyce versus Bates. I found this one quite tight to call. Joyce, obviously, he had a great, I can't remember if it was ending last year or start of this year, where he reached the Euro Tour final. Bates, on the other hand, has been quite shaky this year. What do you think?
Yeah, I think I'd probably go with Joyce in this one. I think Owens just sort of struggled a bit with
Yeah.
consistency. And again, he's another one of those players that I think just played so much better when he wasn't on the tour. But and Joyce is pretty solid, I think, on the world stage. I think he'll probably just take that one.
Mm. Quarter way through the first round draws, Ratajski versus Toilo.
It'll be a painful one to watch. I know that
Yeah, I
much.
know.
I'd probably go with Ratajski. I
Yeah,
think
agreed.
Toivo's proved he can, upset people, but I think Ratajski's just he's one of those that will just get on with his game.
Bunting versus Bieletsky. Happy to go with Bunting on this one?
Yeah, I think Bunting will probably take that one. Although Seb's a pretty good player, I think Bunting's
Yeah.
just levels above.
Veenstra versus Kumar. I'd happily go with Veenstra here.
Yeah, again, love netting. He come over and play darts with us for a couple of games when he comes to Q school. But yeah, Venture is the one.
Van Dijvenbode versus Batons. Once again, happy to go with Dirk.
Yeah, yeah.
Hurl versus Bunce. This is quite a close one. Hurl's obviously played a couple of stage games over the last couple of years. Bunce obviously he had that famous Grand Slam run. I think it was last year or the year before. Um, go on, where do you think this one's heading?
Yeah, another tough one. James Howell had some really good runs at the last couple of Pro Tours. Um, Stonebunt's probably got a bit more stage experience and probably isn't as like nervous when it comes to big stage games. So I'd probably go with him. I think just based on stage experience, I guess, in
Yeah.
terms of big PDC stage experience, that is.
Schindler versus Burton. Schindler has had some rocky form, but I still do think he is the better player and will come through this one.
Yeah, I'd go with Schindler for that one.
Barry versus Tim Pussy. I'm happy to go with Keane Barry on this one. Obviously, he's had less stage experience than we've seen him have before in previous years. But obviously, we've seen his darts kind of lie a bit differently. Obviously, he was known for stacking. Has started to move a little bit away from that, but I'm still happy to go with the Irishman here.
Yeah, I think he's been playing a lot of darts. He actually moved over to near where I live, so over from Ireland. So I think he's in terms of prep he'll be better. And
Yeah.
also he's playing my Super League team 3 days before he plays at the World. So if he plays against me, then maybe I can hamper his confidence a bit. We'll go with him.
Happy to go with Searle in this tie.
Yeah, the easy one. So that one, I think.
Um, Tyrus Dudney, obviously quite, I think maybe the most surprising one to come through the qualifier. Lovely, lovely, lovely guy. I've spoken to him quite a few times, but has not had the first year on the Pro Tour that you would have hoped for. Happy to go with Dolan.
Yeah, I think so. Dolan again, just stage
Yeah,
experience, like
exactly.
just experience in general. Yeah.
Clayton versus Lipscomb. Lipscomb has had a great end to the year. I still think Clayton's experience will bring him through this tie.
Yeah, obviously he went out in the group stages of the Grand Slam, didn't he? I can't remember if he actually even won a game, but I just think World Championships is like a different level of
Yeah.
sort of stage, and some players get really up for it. And I think he's one of those that does.
Taylor versus Lukasiak. I lean towards Taylor. I think Lukasiak, he's at the moment averaging around the mid 80s. We've seen the kind of the ton pluses that Taylor can put in if he needs, so I'd lean towards Taylor.
Yeah, I think Taylor's probably the pick here. I haven't seen too much of Lucas yet this year.
Smith versus Ashton. Smith obviously not in form at the moment. Ashton obviously won the World Match Play, took Van Veen to an extremely close game, but I'd still lean towards Michael Smith.
Yeah, I'd say it's only a tough one because you really don't know how what Smith will turn up. Like he could turn
Exactly.
up and like not be able to walk basically. In which case I'd probably say Ashton would win it. But yeah, I think probably 9 or 8 times out of 10 you're looking at Michael Smith for this one.
Yeah. Zonneveld versus Halpe Puha. I am happy to go with Zonneveld for this one. I think Puha's not been putting in the performances this year that we've kind of seen of him in previous years.
Yeah, I agree. And Zonderveld's had a few good games this year, throughout the year. So
I think I accidentally skipped off one there. Let's see. Smith versus Harrison. Yes, Harrison is a player I think a lot of people love. Had some great form this year, but I'd still say Smith outpowers him.
yeah, this year again, not really the best year from Harrison. Sort of 2024 and 2023 dominated sort of the modus and played really well on challenge tour and stuff. But I just think Smith's going to be too good for him this year.
Trickle versus Saka. I'd argue the stage experience and the experience swings this in Trickle's favour.
Yeah, it's a tough one to call. I don't really know too much about Sakai, which would probably make me say I'm going to lean towards Tricol. But it's one of those where I really probably don't know.
Yeah.
But yeah, I think, like I say, stage experience again probably leans in Tricol's favour.
Chisnell versus Sherrock. Chizzy is obviously known for kind of high averages, yet not getting the tournaments at the end of it on stage. Sherrock, Queen of the Palace. I'd still say sadly that Chizzy does outpower Sherrock in this one.
Yeah, it's a difficult one for me because I think Chili's not been playing well, and the sort of way. I mean, he doesn't really run his social media, I don't think, but
No.
you know, the way he sort of spoke on social media, if it was
Hmm.
him, was like almost like he's a bit nervous about the game, like he doesn't want to play Fallon, which I guess is probably right
Yeah.
because probably the crowd's going to be against him. He's not in the best of form, but then saying that Fallon's not really played a lot this year. When she was playing and competing with some of the top players, she was actually regularly playing top level PDC stuff, whether that was like, the World Championships, World Series, Grand Slam. But I'd probably say just because Chisholm's actually been playing more on stage this year, I think that plays a lot in his favour. And also Sherrick's not really played a lot of even WDF stuff this year and stuff,
Yeah.
which I think helped her form a few years ago.
I think I'm actually seeing that game at the World, which should be good to see.
Nice.
Um, Pietreczko versus De Souza. De Souza coming through the qualifier, not had, it's been, frankly, a year to forget for De Souza. Pietreczko would be my pick. What about you?
Yeah, I agree. I think De Sousa needs to win like 2 or 3 games to keep his tour card, which might motivate him a bit. He might play quite well, but yeah, Pietreczko I think could just be too good for him again.
Right, we're halfway through the round of, well, I guess, the last 28. Let's speed through some of these ties. Humphreys versus Everts. It's Humphreys, no doubt.
Yeah, yeah. That was the former
Um,
World Youth Champions.
De Graaf versus Lim. Obviously, you can't not love Paul Lim. Uh, who does this go to?
I think De Graaf, obviously Paul Lim semi-finalist at Lakeside last year, but well, finalist at Lakeside last year, runner up. But yeah, I think De Graaf will probably win this one.
Happy to go with Nyman for this one.
Yeah, I don't think it'd be as straightforward as it perhaps looks, but yeah, Norman would be my pick.
And this one is definitely not straightforward because Clemens is not someone who's played by any means his best darts at all this year. Spellman, it has been shaky, there's no doubt about that. Who's this going to?
I'm going to pick Spellman just because I think it's finally time for him to sort of play well on the
Yeah.
big stage. I think he's been to a couple of PDC events and sort of not really performed how he knows he can perform. And I think he'll be ready for it this time around. I think he'll probably put in a pretty big performance.
Happy to go with Aspinall for this one. Had a good end to the year.
Yeah, I'm going to go last one for this one.
Mansell versus Gates. Again, a slightly trickier one to predict. Um, who does it go to?
Um, Oh, I really don't know. I'm again not really seeing a lot of Leonard Gates this year. I don't know if it's just because I haven't been able to keep up with darts as much, or if it's because he's not been playing as well or playing as many events. Um, I'm probably going to go with Gates again. I think the crowd might be on his side because of his walk on. Yeah, that's basically what I'm going to go with.
Right, we'll go through the next few rapid fire. So it's quick. Let's go on gut feeling for the next few. Zedeka or Munya?
The Deco.
I'd go with Kevin Dukes for this one. Agree.
Yeah, Kevin Dukes.
You've got to go with Wade for this one, surely.
Yeah, 100% Wade.
I think this is going to be one of the. I think this will be one of the ties of the first round. In terms of the pace that it's going to be played at, but also the stage presence of Ricky Evans and Manlot Lung. Obviously, he's very, very popular at the World Cup. Who's this going to?
I think if this tie was made 3 months ago, I'd probably say it was closer than what it is. But I think at the minute I'm going to go Rookie Evans just because of the form he's in.
Menzies or Manby? Manby, for those of you trying to work out when this is recorded, has just won Moda Super Series against a good friend of both of ours, actually, Tom Sykes. Um, Manby is in incredible form, hot prospect. Do you think that could shake Menzies a bit?
I think it could, and also I think what Charlie's got is he's got a really good head on his shoulders. I think
Yeah,
he doesn't let stuff affect him, which I think sometimes when people play Menzies and he sort of has his I don't know what they are meltdowns, tantrums, crazy moments. I think some people get a bit put off by it, and I think Charlie actually will sort of ride through that pretty well.
yeah. So we go Manby?
Yeah, we'll go with Bambi. I think that's probably our first like real shock, I guess, if
Yeah.
we guess one. So I'm gonna go with that.
Matt Campbell, not had a great year. Savada, have not seen much of him if I'm honest. Campbell or Savada?
I'm just gonna go with Campbell, just because again, not seeing much of both of them, so just go with the seed, I guess.
Good to see Chris O'Reilly's back, obviously, but John Von Vane for me.
Yeah, I think people are saying that's going to be a really good and close game, but I'm not
Hmm.
100% sure that's the case. But yeah,
Suter, Haju. I'd say Suter.
yeah, agreed. Suitor for me.
Vandenberg, Beveridge. Obviously, Vandenberg not had a good year, but I'd still say his stage experience outpowers Beveridge in this one.
Yeah, agreed. I think it's possible for a shock here. If there's going to be a shock, it might be this one. But yeah, I'd probably
Yeah.
still go Vanderberg.
Rasma van der Herrik. I'd lean towards Rasma again for that experience.
Yeah, agreed.
Uh, Van Gerwen.
Yeah, yeah.
I think I'm also seeing this tie as well at the Worlds, which should be good. Um, O'Connor versus Christoph Chuk. I'm happy to go with O'Connor.
Yeah, yeah. Con for me.
This one, I think, could be very interesting. And I say that because I think if we see a slightly off form Peter Wright, or even an A game from Van Leuven, I think this goes more towards her. What would you suggest?
Yeah, I would agree. I know I've spoken about it a couple of times, but I think this is the one game where I think I'm actually kind of worried that the crowd might be a bit funny. Obviously, we know
Yeah,
reasons why. I don't really have to explain them. I just think if too many people in the crowd are against Nolan, I think it might really, really affect her.
yeah,
Obviously, she's not played as much this year, and I think that is the reason why is because she hasn't wanted to put herself in the limelight as much. But I imagine she's still performing pretty well. But I think I'm just going to side with Peter Wright for this one, just
yeah.
because I think Peter Wright, the world's, he'll be in his Christmas gear, whatever he's going to come up with this year. I'm going to go with him, I think.
High Brett versus Merck. I'd lean towards Merck.
Yeah, Merck's been played really well in the German Super League, I think it was, that's where he qualified. So yeah, I'd probably go with Merck, I think.
Anderson versus Hunt. I'm extremely happy to go with Anderson.
Yeah, Anderson for me.
Scott versus Whitlock. Very good tie, this one. I would still lean towards Connor Scott.
Yeah, agreed. I think the sort of darts equipment nerd in me when that one came out, I was like, oh, those two use both, well, Connor used to use Simon's darts. And I was like, oh, funny matchup. But yeah, I'm going to go with Scott for that one.
Watermain versus Grulich. I'm happy to go with Watermainer.
Yeah, agreed. Yeah, what's me for me?
Williams versus Nabrida. Two people who play at different paces. Obviously, we've seen Williams suffer a bit with dartitis, but I'd still lean towards him.
Yeah, again, you don't really know what Scott Williams is going to turn up, whether he'd have got over it by then, whether it's going to get worse, I'm not sure. Obviously, World Championships might bring it on a bit more because it's a big occasion, but yeah, I think just based on what we know, I'm going to go Scott Williams.
Noppert versus Van der Velde. Obviously, we saw Van der Velde play some good stuff, but I'd still lean towards Noppert, who is in incredible form.
Yeah, I'd agree. Yeah, Nopper's playing really well. And I think just a couple of wins at the Worlds might get him a Premier League spot.
I would agree with that. Kelly versus Hood. Justin Hood's had a really good year. Kelly has had an up and down year. Tough one to call this. I'd go Justin Hood.
Yeah, I'd agree. I think he's been playing really well, especially the back end of this year. I think once he sort of found his feet after getting his tour card, found his happy feet, I should say. Yeah, I think it's going to go with him.
Ed House, who has not had a good year at all. Johnny Tata, who's this going to?
I'm going to go with Ed House. He's currently in Great Yarmouth as we speak. He's made the final of the Norfolk Family Dance Festival men's singles, and he's beaten some pretty good players on the way through. So I'm going to go with Ed House.
Mikkel versus Salate. I'm happy to go with Mikkel for this one.
Yeah, I'm going to go with Ryan. A lot of people weren't really happy with him after his performance at the Players' Champs, but I think that's because he had to drive 6 hours at the last minute. So
Yeah. And Rock versus Hater, obviously, hey, Joanna is a really good friend of a lot of ours. Sadly, though, I do think Rock does outpower her in this one.
yeah, yeah. As much as we'd like to see Gemma win, I think obviously we've got to go with Josh Rock, but I think Gemma's happy enough picking up the 15K, even if she
Yeah,
does lose, as she said on Twitter to that guy who said she shouldn't be playing because she's not good enough.
Exactly, she's earned her place. Springer for me in this one.
Yeah, great Springer.
Two ties left. Wow. I found it interesting. We hadn't actually had this one yet. Gurney versus Greaves. Um, where does this go?
I think this is probably one of the tougher games to pick in the first round.
I'd argue this
Um,
is the toughest for me.
yeah, I think it's one of those where like if you pick Gurney and Bow wins, people think you look a bit silly because of the form Bow's been in. But then if you pick Bow and Gurney wins, it's the same sort of thing. So people are like, well, of
Yeah.
course Darren Gurney's going to win. But which it's weird, isn't it? The way that plays out. 'Cause I think, like I said, it's probably the closest, if not one of the closest games.
Take your
I
pick.
just, I just think Bo Greaves for me. I think she's just going to have too much for Darren. I think his head might go a bit, a little thing. I think.
Bo was my pick for that one as well. I'm glad we agreed. Final round of the first tie. The first round, sorry. Um, Rids for me.
Yeah, it's for me.
Right, we're into the last 32. We're going to do this quicker. We're going to do this literally one word. So every time a tie comes out, um, we'll alternate them. So I'll do the first one, you do the second one, etc. Okay,
Okay, cool. Yeah,
awesome. Littler,
yeah. Cullen,
Heta,
Ross,
Dobie,
Woodhouse,
Price,
ooh, Ratajski,
Bunting.
Dirk.
Oh, I love Martin. Oh, his form though has been pretty bad. I still think that experience and with the crowds on his side, I'll still go Martin, but that's close.
So
Clayton,
was on the field.
Smith,
Pietrezco,
oh, interesting. Humphreys, absolutely.
Nyman,
Aspinall,
Dukes,
Wade,
Mandy,
John,
Dimmy.
Michael.
Oh, right.
This one's tough. I still think if we see an on-form Anderson wins, but I think if Scott score, I think if Scott's doubles are good, Scott wins that.
What am I mean?
Noppert,
I'm going Ryan. Go Ryan.
Josh, and the final tie. Oh,
Oh, that'd be a good game if that happens. I'm gonna go Rids because he loves the World Championships.
right. We'll do the same for the round of last 32, and then we'll discuss the 16 a bit more. Littler,
It's
Dobie,
Price.
Bunting.
So
Yeah, that's where I would lean. Clayton,
Smith.
Humphreys, but I don't think that'll be straight sets.
No. Aspinall.
Wade because of his finishing.
Jan.
That's Michael for me, but what a tie that would be.
Yeah. Um, Anderson.
I'll go Noppert and the final tie.
Oh, another good one as well, if that happens. Rock.
Okay, we've got, I'm trying to see how long we've got on the Zoom meeting. 8 minutes. Right, this one, where do you suggest it goes? I still think Littler.
Yeah, Littler for me.
Dobie versus Price. I think this is an incredible tie. Price, obviously, we know how much he loves the World Championships. I think I'd lean towards Dobie in this one, but what would you think?
Yeah, I think the only thing that might hamper Dobie, and again, it's all mentality based. See, last year he had that game, was he 4-0 up and he lost 5-4 to Rob Cross?
Yeah.
I think at the same stage, I'm not 100% sure. Um, but I also think the crowd, again, it does play a big factor. I think might be against Price, so I'm going to go Dobie.
Bunting or Searle, I think that's bunting for me.
Yeah, agreed.
Clayton and Smith, I still think Clayton.
Yeah, tough one. I think Clayton for me.
Obviously another brilliant tie. I guess at this point, all ties are really good. I think I'd go Humphreys, but a lot. I think this will be Luke's toughest game so far.
Yeah, agreed. I think if he's going to go out at any point before the final, I think that might be it.
Wade versus Van Veen. I think this is an extremely tough one. However, I would lean towards Gian.
Yeah, agreed. I think.
Right, this one is slightly, I think, harder than maybe the seeding suggests. I think if Anderson scores well and his doubles are on point, I do see him outpowering Van Gogh. I think it all depends on what Van Gogh we see.
Yeah, I think if Anderson has random games where he just doesn't play very well or doesn't play well by his standards, and MVG can take advantage of that. But I think just based on regular form, I'd probably say Anderson.
Yeah, agreed. And the final one of the last 16, very, very tasty tie this. I'd argue two of the most informed players in the world at the moment. This is tough to call, but what's your gut feeling?
Yeah, I don't know how many games they've played against each other. I think Noppert's very steady, sort of plays the board, doesn't really play against the player. I think what has Josh Rock's favour sometimes in games is he speeds up and slows down just at his
Mm,
own sort of pace. And I think that sometimes affects players, but I think Noppert is probably just a bit steadier, and I think he might actually get through this one.
nice, like it. Right, quarterfinals, Littler Dobie. As much as I think Dobie is an incredible player, I still think Littler wins this one.
Yeah, agreed. A super long format as well, and I think just Littler's just suited to that.
Bunting Clayton. My heart's leaning towards Clayton in this one, but obviously would like to hear your opinion.
Yeah, a tough one. I think this, like I say, the format comes into its first to five sets, isn't it? In the
Yeah.
quarterfinals. I don't think either are great at long format games, so it might be a bit of a topsy turvy game. Um, Yeah, I just think Clayton. I think Bunting's just got a historical sort of thing where he just can't go over the line at the Worlds, and I
Mm.
think Clayton might sort of. I mean, Clayton hasn't really pushed. I don't think he's ever made a World semi final before, but yeah, I think it'll be Clayton.
Humphreys Van Veen. I think this is trickier than the Derby tie with Littler. The only reason I suggest that is because we've seen how good Van Veen can play in slightly longer formats this year. Maybe something that we haven't seen from him before. Um, I think Humphreys is the obvious pick. Would you agree?
Yeah, I think so. I think people sometimes forget just how good Humphreys is.
Yeah,
Um, I think because Littler does win a lot, I think people forget that Humphreys is also levels above
yeah.
everyone else as well. For me, I'd say Humphreys, but yeah, could definitely could easily be a Jan win if he's on his game.
Anderson Noppert, I'm inclined to go towards Noppert in this one. I think the only reason I suggest that is because you talked earlier about how Anderson can be very, very topsy-turvy, yet Noppert is an extremely steady player.
Yeah, agreed. I think, well, obviously at this point, obviously it's just a prediction, but if Anderson does get that through that MVG game, if it even gets to that point, I think he's either going to get through that one, and if he doesn't, I think Noppert will be the one to stop him.
Okay, semi-finals then. Littler Clayton.
Littler.
Littler is yeah, you just can't put much past him, can you?
No. Yeah, it's Littler for me.
And the other one, after all of our hard work, I think people can see where this is going now. As much as I'd love Noppert to reach the final, and I think he could, but he'd have to be on like his A-star game. Humphreys, I think, would have to play quite badly not to come through this one in the long format.
Yeah, Humphreys for me. We could have just skipped the whole thing and just gone who's going to win the final, but you
Uh,
never know.
and here we go, as I'm sure everybody could have predicted, we have ended up with a Littler Humphreys final. After almost an hour of predicting, I think we knew it was always going to come here. Um, who's your pick and why?
Um, it's very difficult because I think stats wise, you're probably looking at Littler, but for me, I would just love to see Humphreys win it and just return to that world number one spot.
Um, yeah,
Um,
I think I'd actually
yeah,
agree with you on that one. I think Littler has won so many titles this year. I very much doubt that he won't reach the final. I think he will be in the final, but my gut tells me to lean towards Humphreys a little bit.
yeah, I think there was some interviews that came out not long after Humphreys had dropped out of the number one spot, and they said like, well, Humphrey said that he didn't feel credited enough as world number one, which he never
Yeah,
said while he was number one, which I think was really respectful of him. But I think, and he actually also said that if he returned to number one, he still thinks it'll be the same where Littler gets a lot of the limelight. But I think I would really like to see Humphreys win it and just take that world number one spot, just for people to sort of say like, you know what, Humphreys is on par with. Well, I don't think he's on par with Littler, but he is one of the best players ever. I would say, in my
yeah,
opinion.
I I'd agree with that, and I think it was the interview maybe after the Grand Slam where or the Players Championship final, I can't remember which one it was. I think it was the Grand Slam where Humphreys, I think the interviewer asked Humphreys, how do you feel now that your world number one's gone? And he went, I don't care, I'm going to win the worlds. Um, and I think that fighting talk for me swings it in Humphreys' favour.
Yeah, yeah, I'd say so. I think he's going to be really on it at the Worlds.
He's
Sometimes
determined.
it can go the other way, but I think like mentality wise, I think Humphreys is
Yeah.
the best in the world. I think he's so strong mentally.
So there we go. After all of those predictions, we have decided that it will be a Luke Humphreys, Luke Littler final, um, with Luke Humphreys coming out on top. Thank you very much, Kurt, for doing this with me. It's been an absolute pleasure to discuss the world with you. And yeah, all the best.
Thank you for having me, mate. Yes, enjoy the Worlds.